right, today we're breaking down the AFC East here on 4 Verts. This is, I believe, our 5th division that we are breaking down for you guys. So we'll take a look at the Bills, Dolphins, Patriots, and Jets today. Be sure to check out our other divisional previews on the channel. Put out the NFC West yesterday. You look at the AFC East last year, and it's kind of been the theme. It's been the Bills division for a while. Obviously, the Dolphins have had a few playoff appearances in there. The Jets are the longest drought team in the NFL of not making the playoffs. I think it's 15 years now. And then the Patriots brought up the rear, but a team that could have some aspirations this year. We'll get to New England here in a little bit. Let's start with the Bills as they're looking to win the division for a 6th straight season, as they've kind of held stranglehold of this division for the last half decade or so. We'll dive deeper into the Bills in a second, but before we do, clearly the Bills are the team to beat. So I want to know, heading into this season, who is the biggest challenge for Buffalo? Is it the Miami Dolphins, the New York Jets, or the New England Patriots? If you think it's the Dolphins, type MIA. If you think it's the Jets, type NYJ. If you think it's the Patriots, type NE. Okay, obviously for Josh Allen and the Bills, yeah, winning the division, that's the first goal. But clearly they're chasing a lot more because they've been on the doorstep a couple of times with the chance to get to the Super Bowl, and they have not quite been able to break through. For Josh personally, he did break through in terms of winning that MVP, so really the only thing left for him to add to what is building as a Hall of Fame resume is to A, get to the Super Bowl, and B, win one, which is two things they have failed to do. I mean, the last 5 years, AFC Championship lost to the Chiefs, lost in the divisional round to the Chiefs, lost in the divisional round to the Bengals, lost in the divisional round to the Chiefs. Guess who beat them in the AFC Championship last year? The Kansas City Chiefs. That has been the thorn in their side, and listen, they're not alone in that. Only the Bengals have gotten over the Chiefs in terms of the Patrick Mahomes era, other than that first year when Tom Brady and New England beat them in the AFC Championship game. But if you're Buffalo, you've been right there, and especially last year to lose by 3 points in the AFC title game, that's a tough pill to swallow. So clearly they're chasing more than just the division. I'm curious about this wide receiver room. I don't love it. I know they kind of did this last year by committee. They've got 2 good tight ends. James Cook catches the ball. I like Khalil Shakir. I think he's a good number 2. I don't view him as someone who can become a true number 1. I think they have a lot of good complementary pieces, but who's like that go-to guy in a big spot? That's what I really question here. And if no one emerges in that regard, I think that's got to be an area of focus next offseason for Buffalo. I think Palmer's a nice piece. I think the tight ends are solid, but they don't have that true alpha dog that they had with Stefon Diggs for years. Now, I agree with that trade. He was starting to decline. It kind of just felt like it ran its course, but I do feel like that might be an area they need to add next off season, so we'll see if it's good enough this year. On the defensive line, this is really what's held them back in these playoff games. I think it's a good group, but kind of like the receiver and the weapon position, where's that dominant piece? They bring in Joey Bosa. I think he can help if he's healthy. Russo's solid. Obviously, Ed Oliver's a good player, but what's been the consistent theme when they've played the Chiefs in these playoff games? They can't get to Mahomes. They cannot get to Patrick Mahomes. And what have been the teams that have given the Chiefs the biggest struggles, especially in their 2 Super Bowl losses? Well, the Eagles were able to win without blitzing and get after Mahomes, and the Bucs did the same thing. The Bills have not been able to do that. They have not been able to penetrate that offensive line and get after number 15. So, really, we all know the Bills are going to be good. Spoiler, I'm picking them to win this division. Can they beat the Chiefs? Can someone apply enough pressure on Patrick Mahomes to make a difference-making play? Because that's been the issue in these matchups in the past. We'll see if this year is different. Are we about to witness a meltdown in Miami? Let's break down the Dolphins now, as a lot of people are selling the Dolphins heading into 2025. I think a big part of that is people are just selling Mike McDaniel. Feels like he's on the hot seat entering this year. Certainly is on the outside. Now, whether or not that's true within the organization with the owner and Chris Greer, who knows? But the betting markets have him as the favorite to be the first head coach fired this year. I think it's 2-1 last time I checked. So he's got a lot to prove in terms of showing he can be the guy long term. And I just think it's hard sometimes to shake certain labels and narratives. I mean, what have we called Miami since McDaniel's been there? And they've had some decent teams, but what are they? Well, they're soft when the weather turns. Tua shrivels up, and they're not a physical toughness team. And undisciplined, too. Last year, Mike McDaniel admitted publicly, he said, yeah, I find guys when they show up late to practice, they still keep doing it. It's like, well, that kind of tells you they don't respect you. Like, okay, I'll take the fine, whatever. Like, maybe you got to bench somebody. I don't know. Like, it just doesn't seem like he kind of checks the box of that leader of men mantra, which I think is an overrated phrase, but I do think there's some truth to it here. Now, I will say this. I came to become a Tua Tagovailoa appreciator last year. I don't think he's a lead or anything, but I watched them play without him. They were not functional. It was embarrassing to watch them play offensively when he missed those 6 games with the concussion. And look, he's 38-24 as a starter. That's not like some barely above 500 mark. You're winning over 60% of your games. So I've grown to appreciate Tua. I don't think you can win big with him because, again, when it gets cold and you have to travel and play in Buffalo, play a road playoff game against Pittsburgh, or enter team, any team that's going to play in the Midwest or in the North, I don't think Tua's game translates in that regard, but he is a solid player, and if he's healthy, I don't think this thing will completely collapse, but A, he's injury prone, and B, if you're not stacking wins early in the season, we know that this team does not translate to November, December, and January football. And those are just some of the concerns. They have a lot of injuries in their backfield right now. It sounds like Achan's going to be fine, but keep an eye on that. Their cornerback room is atrocious. I know they added Rhamondre Douglas recently. I'm not sure that's an elixir, but we'll see. I still have questions about the O-line after Teron Armstead retired. And then, again, the inability, I should say, to play in cold weather is a very, very real thing until it isn't. They got to prove that it's not. They added some pieces in the trenches in the draft. We'll see if they become tougher, but it's hard to kind of change the narrative on toughness when the head coach is who he is. And my big question for Miami is, can they start fast? Because if they don't, they're in trouble, because they're teams that have made the playoffs. They have started fast, and they faded when it gets cold, and they still have enough wins to get in. That's going to have to be the formula here. And I will say, pretty favorable schedule early. At Indianapolis, Daniel Jones, that's a game that Miami's going to have a good chance. Indoors, by the way, that translates well for Tua. Patriots at home. Feels like a big game for both teams. Winner of that game gets a leg up on the other. At the Bills, that's going to be a tough ask. But in September, warm weather, maybe that's a spot you have a chance. Jets at home, at Panthers. I mean, other than at Buffalo, decent chance you're going to be favored or just a slight dog in those other 4 games. So 3-2, 4-1 start, definitely on the table. It's going to need to be. If they start 2-3 or something like that, this thing could get ugly because the schedule gets a lot tougher after that first 5 weeks. All right, today's show is sponsored by PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. Football is finally here, and I'm fired up for week 1. I made some money over the college football weekend. Shout out to my guy, Josh Hoover, and now I'm ready for the big boys to get going. It's very easy to play PrizePicks, as you just pick more or less on stat projections on 2 to 6 player lineups. If you get your lineup right, you can win up to 2,000 times your money. PrizePicks also invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out of your lineup, cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Take advantage of the Dak Prescott special offer for week 1. More than half a passing yard. I've paired that with more than 68.5 rushing and receiving yards combined for DeAndre Swift. $20 entry to win $60 on this 2-player lineup. So if you want to check that out, you can. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in the lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in the lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. All right, the Jumpstart Jets, question mark? We'll see. Elijah Vera Tucker got hurt today and is going to be out for a while, so that's not great for a team that needs to run the football. But I do think there's a fresh energy to this team that I like. I like the GM head coach combination. Aaron Glenn, I don't think he's a great X's and O's defensive coach, but he is kind of that tough guy head coach type. Now, if you're losing early, does that message still get received strong? We'll find out, because the Jets could certainly struggle. We'll see. I don't love this roster, but there are some good pieces. Clearly, you're going to have limitations with Justin Fields. We know that. but can you be functional? Can you be a potent rushing attack? At times we saw that in Chicago. Vera Tucker going down, that hurts, but they have a couple of good running backs that I like in Breece Hall and Braylon Allen. The Jets are high on Isaiah Davis, it sounds like, too. So this will be a run-first team. We'll see what their adjustment is on the offensive line. Do they slide Joe Tippmann to guard and play Josh Myers at center? Certainly an option, as those two were competing for the starting center role. So we'll see how Glenn and company handle that. But we've seen it with Justin Fields. If you fall behind and you get into a spot where you have to throw the football, you're just not going to be successful. If you run the ball, play with the lead, do a little play action, get Fields on the edge, you could be a somewhat functional passing attack, but when the defense knows you have to throw and Justin Fields is your quarterback, you're feeling pretty good if you're that defense. Now, speaking of defense, the Jets, they go out and get Harrison Phillips. That should help their run defense. That was a big question mark coming into the season. If they can stop the run, I think the pass rush will be pretty good with Quinnen Williams, Will McDonald, and Jermaine Johnson. And we obviously got Sauce in the back end. They got some good players back there as well. Quincy Williams at the linebacker spot. So I think the defense has a chance to be pretty good. It's just going to come down to, can Justin Fields be effective at all as a passer? Can he be the 25th best passing quarterback in the NFL? If he could be between 20 and 25 and they have a top 10 rushing attack, then okay, they can be functional. If not, though, and teams just sell out on the run and Fields can't take advantage of man coverage situations, then they're just going to be a well below average offense, and they're going to have to try to win every game 13-10, and over the course of 17 games, that typically does not translate. So fascinated to see it play out. I do like the direction in terms of the head coach and GM. They probably don't have the long-term answer at quarterback, so this year is probably more about establishing their identity and culture as a franchise more than it is winning and losing. All right, subscribe to the channel. We've been previewing all NFL divisions. We'll get them all knocked out this week, the ones we haven't gotten to yet. So be on the lookout for that. Plus, more daily content, NFL news that drops. College football is back. We did a lot of videos on that. Had my 12-team playoff prediction. Did some reaction to a couple of the games this weekend, including Arch Manning's debut. So if you're an NFL fan, a college football fan, hopefully both, this is the channel for you. Go ahead and subscribe. Okay, how about the playoff Pats? A lot of people think that could be the case here, that they could be a kind of a dark horse to get that 6 or 7 seed in the AFC. They've been kind of a trendy pick. One thing we know for sure is that the credibility is back in the building with Mike Vrabel at head coach. They tried it with Gerard Mayo. It's a guy the Crafts were fond of. He played under Bill Belichick. He coached with Bill Belichick, and it just didn't work. He was not ready to be a head coach. Going from linebacker coach to head coach was too tall of a task. So they pivot after 1 year, bring in a proven guy who got Tennessee to the AFC Championship game 1 year, got them to the number 1 seed 1 year, and that was with average to above average rosters. I never felt like those Titans teams were elite, certainly not at quarterback with Ryan Tannehill. Drake May's got more talent than Tannehill. Now, it's year 2, long way to go, certainly. Can he have that true breakout season this year under Josh McDaniels? It's hard to evaluate the preseason, but that didn't look great. Does that really matter? Who knows? I don't love what's around Drake May. I still have questions about this offensive line. They bring in Garrett Bradbury. He's kind of just okay. Will Campbell, I think, will be an upgrade at left tackle, but is he a guard long term? That remains to be seen. I do like the Morgan Moses play. He's at least a solid right tackle. Michael Winu's good at right guard, so I would imagine they run behind those two quite a bit. So at least it's serviceable-ish on the O-line, but I still don't think it's great. The skill weapons, TreVeyon Henderson looks good. I'm excited to see what they do with him. We know Josh McDaniels likes dumping the ball off to running backs. I would imagine he's going to catch, 50, 60, 70 balls. They can run between the tackles with Rhamondre Stevenson. Stefon Diggs looks good, it sounds like. I don't know about the rest of that receiver room. DeMario Douglas is a solid slot. Hunter Henry's a solid tight end, but it's a lot of okay, good-ish, no dominant player. Offensive line is still going to have some pass protection issues, I think. It kind of feels like they're still a year away in terms of building this roster, especially offensively. The defense is going to be good, I think. You got Gonzo on the back end. You go pay Milton Williams. I like that move. Have a couple of pass rushers in there. We know Vrabel coach team's going to play defense, so I feel good about that side of the ball. I just don't know if they're going to be able to generate consistent, explosive plays offensively. The good news is they play in a division that kind of stinks outside of Buffalo, so I like their chances to at least be that second team in the division. Playoffs, I'll reveal that in a sec. Are the Patriots a playoff team? You tell me first. Type Y for yes, or you can type N for no. Give me your thoughts on that one. I don't think they're quite there. I think the Bills run away with this division. I do have the Patriots finishing second. They feel like an 8-ish win team to me. I think them and Miami will be jockeying in that 7-9 win range. I don't have either of them making the playoffs. And then I think the Jets, I think they'll be scrappy. They'll play hard, but they're probably only going to win like 6 games. So that's how I see it playing out in the AFC East, a one-team playoff division. And then maybe next year, one of New England or Miami takes that step forward. Probably New England, as feels like this Miami core is kind of just flatlined here. All right, that's it for the AFC East preview. Thanks to everybody who made it to the end of the video. Be sure to subscribe as we're going to knock out the NFC East next. We'll see you soon.